Extreme Makeover, Home Edition, was one of my favorite shows for a while, mainly because I loved to see the before and after shots. The water damage in the bathroom, the rotting ceiling beams, and the messy kids' rooms were all so extremely awful. Then, poof! They moved that bus, and before our eyes is a new, beautiful, complete house. No more rot, no more mold. A clean, fresh house with flat-screen TVs and themed bedrooms for the kids. Makeover shows are compelling for one reason. We love to see the bad turn good. To watch something that was falling apart be restored and renewed is encouraging and hopeful. It's the same way with people. Growing up in the church, I heard a lot of testimonies from people who went from bad to Jesus. Their lives consisted of one bad decision after another, which is what made their story so powerful. From alcohol, drugs, sex, and cigarettes, their rebellion would lead to a dramatic climax. Jesus showed up and their lives looked completely different. There was no denying that God got the credit. As a good girl who accepted Jesus at a young age, I couldn't relate. In fact, I admit to sometimes wishing I had a few years of rebellion under my belt. Then my story would be interesting and dramatic too. Small town girl. Growing up in a small southern Indiana town, my sister and I didn't have a whole lot of ways to get into trouble. We spent our summer days playing outside until it got dark and the lightning bugs came out. We played Barbies and waited for pregnant cats to give birth to litters of kittens. We had lemonade stands and drank most of it before earning any money. We practiced the moonwalk but always did it opposite and couldn't figure out why our kid-covered feet didn't look like Michael Jackson's. We did normal 1980s kid things. Our very loving and slightly overprotective mother had clear rules about things we were and were not allowed to do. We were allowed to walk down the back alley to Melissa's house as long as we stayed together. We were allowed to walk the half block to the convenience store for a Coke and a cherry blow pop as long as Mom was watching from the front porch. We were also allowed to ride bikes on the road as long as we stayed on the gravel side. We were not, under any circumstances, allowed to go under the bridge. Apparently, that was where all kinds of awful happened. I never knew exactly what was so bad about the bridge, but in the depths of my imagination I saw hordes of witches crouched in the dark, stirring their steaming brew, buying the souls of unsuspecting 7-year-olds in cut-off shorts sporting skinned-up knees. To go under the bridge was the ultimate declaration of independence from adult wisdom or supervision. To go under the bridge was to be a rebel. Nearly 4 years older, my sister and her friends determined how the days would be filled. I got to tag along because I complained and Mom felt sorry for me. I don't remember anything about what happened under the bridge the day we broke the rule. All I remember is how I felt afterward. Guilty. I believed my role in the family was to be the good girl, the one who never got into trouble, the one with the admirable reputation. I had an overwhelming compulsion to confess to my mother. I remember sitting next to her, knowing I couldn't carry the burden of my disobedience any longer, despite the earlier pleas from my big sister to keep my mouth shut. I'm sure we were punished for doing something we weren't supposed to, and I'm also sure that I was punished less than my older sister. I probably cried. I was the baby after all. My reaction to disobedience was just as it should have been. Guilt. But it didn't come about as a conviction of the Holy Spirit or a sense that I had sinned. I was simply a good girl with a heavy, innate sense of right and wrong and an extra dose of responsibility. The life of a good girl. Even after I prayed to receive Jesus and was baptized at the front of that small church in the middle of a cornfield, it was that inner sense of responsibility that continued to influence the way I lived and the choices I made. Even though I was a believer, it didn't make much difference in the way I lived. I was good before Jesus. I was good after Jesus. No fireworks.